Welcome everybody to another episode of Amen Podcast, AMP. My name is Vance Kirkwood.
I am Tyler Streeter, and today's episode is about the pressure to provide. As men, we are the head of the household, and that comes with some weight and responsibility. So we're going to exchange some questions and really dive into what that means, what it feels like, and, you know, how we feel in those positions. So when you think about the pressures of providing, what comes to mind for you?
What comes to mind for me is no matter what, I am solely responsible for making sure that my family is always taken care of.
For sure.
So no matter what happens, it's going to fall on me.
100%.
The consequences fall on me if something is not done, something is not right, we're not financially stable or financially ready to do this or do that. That is my responsibility. Yeah, so the pressure is that if I fail, which I can't and I won't,
you won't ever,
then I don't just fail. My entire it's five of us that are now failing because of my ability or inability to make sure that they are provided for. And that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But this is the thing, I enjoy it because that's my family, and there is no way that I'm going to fail them in that area.
If you're going to go hard, for anybody, it's going to be for your family.
I'm going to make sure that they have everything they need.
For sure.
And that's just what I am and who I'm and what I'm about.
I agree. Safety, it's everything from safety to nourishment to, you know, the emotional presence, you know, it's all those things, making sure you're there. And the more that you do it and stepping into that role, I feel like it becomes easier and it alleviates the pressure. I think there's moments where you might feel heightened pressure, but, you know, stepping into that role and embracing it, like you said, you start to like it, you know, and then you see the fruits of your labor, you know. So your kids have no idea how hard you work. But then you get to have the Christmas mornings and sending them to, you know, different trips. So it's those type of things. So.
And a big part of that, and I'm just thinking about this as I'm talking, my childhood, we weren't poor by any means. Yeah. We weren't rich by any means either.
Same.
We were
good, right in that little middle ground, right in the middle.
We were as middle class as you could possibly get.
Listen.
We're not low class. We're not super high class. We were middle class. I've never been to Disney as a kid.
Yeah.
My son is 5 years old. He's been 4 times.
Dang.
He's been to Disney 4 times. That's not just, first of all, it's not bragging or anything. I don't even know if that's anything to brag about, to be honest. I'm saying that because
you got bread for sure.
I mean, no, that's
you going to Disney 4 times?
4 times.
Listen,
4 freaking times he's been to Disney World. I'm saying that because I am going to make sure that they get the experiences that I didn't get to have. That's the pressure. It's not, can I make enough money to get him to Disney? That's really not where the pressure is. The pressure for me is, can I give him a childhood that he will remember?
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
Can I give him the best childhood? And it's not all about going places and doing things. Yes, we can give him stuff and take him places, but that's only one part of it.
For sure.
The emotional part, I'm right there just as much. I shower him with the love of a father. I mean, every area, you can't leave one area out.
Yeah.
And that's just me as a father and my wife as a mother. We make sure that they are very well-rounded.
How does your understanding of providing look different from when you were single to now being a married man and even like a father too? Like, how does it look different?
Well, it does look a lot different. I think what made a big improvement to my understanding of providing for my family or the pressure of it was during our premarital counseling when we talked about this stuff and we had deep conversations about our financial picture at the moment as individuals, you know, prior to becoming married. But it was 3 areas. It was spiritually, emotionally, and financially. Those were 3 of the big areas that we really had to tackle during premarital counseling. And the financial part, at the time, I was so young, I didn't have money. Like, I was, 22 when we were going through this. I got married at 23, but the bulk of it was when I was 22. Graduating college, it's like financially stable. I don't really know what that is.
For food, I'm sure.
All I know is that I have an entry-level job and I have a lot of student loan debt. That's what I know.
Man.
That's what I know. So
they want to pay me every month.
Literally. So my understanding is you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a millionaire before you get married.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is very important to understand the plan. You may not have exactly what you want at that moment, but you have what you have, and you have a plan to get where you want to go.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that is the most important thing, more than having it, understanding where you're going with what you have. That's what I would say.
How did it change from husband to father? Because being a husband, it's like, it's you in essence. Y'all, what?
Yeah,
you want to go see a movie or something?
A little easier.
Whatever you want, girl. Now it's like 3 mouths to feed, and you got a dog.
Yeah. It's a lot, bro.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and it takes consistency in budgeting. It takes consistency in just understanding the full picture.
Yeah.
You know, so going to from being married to now having kids is a whole different story.
Gotcha.
They are, when I say fully financially dependent on you, they have no idea what money is. I mean, now they're kind of understanding, but they really, in the grand scheme of things, don't really know what money is and how you get it and what it takes and how you manage it. They have no idea. All they know is they see that and they want that. So with me, it's like you have to kind of start teaching them about money, like what money is and how you budget and how you tithe and how you giving offering. They know that more than some adults right now at such a young age.
Grown people are like tithing.
They really get it, but that's because we taught them that, because we want to be good stewards over money, and we are, and we want them to be good stewards as well. But when you have 3 little ones that are fully financially dependent on you, you have to make it happen. Like, that's the mindset. You have to make it happen. And it may not sound fair, but don't have kids if you can't have the mindset of, these people are dependent on me, I have to make it happen. How do you navigate / balance the responsibility of providing for your family?
So I'm learning that in real time, being relatively newly married, through constant communication and gaining an understanding of, the expectations. And we often have conversations about where we are going and what we want and how many kids we want and where we want to live. So just having those conversations, I'm already in my head, like, orchestrating, okay, we need to be making this much, and, what is that going to look like? Making sure I communicate, or how I would navigate, like, all right, we have kids and I have a wife, and also how would I throw some me time in there? Like, I'm already thinking about that stuff now. So balancing it now, it's like, it's just me and Idea. So it's relatively easy. But, in the same breath, it's like, I also want a specific lifestyle for us. So even now, before kids, I'm planning and trying to do things. So, it's a pretty easy balance, but I don't want to say I'm discontent, but I want more for both of us. So I'm constantly thinking of, like, how to grow and get better and improve. So it's relatively easy to navigate now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
For you, what advice would you give to other men who may be feeling overwhelmed by the pressure to provide for their families?
So, a little background in our situation. So, about 5 years ago, when my first son was born, my wife, she stopped working. And that was probably one of the scariest things that we decided as a married couple, for her to literally no longer have an income. And I
love that for you, but also,
I was happy because I knew she wanted that.
Yeah, for sure.
So again, my mindset is, okay, you want that, and to be honest, it is the best for our family. Put money aside, it is the best for our family. Yeah. I wanted to make that happen for her. Even though it was scary, it's like, okay, we gotta figure it out, because this is what is best for our family. Yeah. So what we did was we looked at all of our bills, and we figured out what we needed to do in order for that to happen. Yeah. So I had to take on some extra side gigs for a little bit, just to make sure that we were good. And then by the grace of God, I got like a ridiculous promotion at work, like shortly after. Yeah. But it was it was scary.
Yeah.
It was scary. And I felt a little bit nervous, but the thing that helped me was that I know that we're givers and we're tithers, so I know that we will always be taken care of.
For sure. You'll never lack.
That's my mindset.
Lacking nothing.
That's my mindset. And some people may not understand that.
Yeah.
Some people may not get that, but that's my mindset.
And sometimes doing scary stuff after you've like carefully planned and, you know, talked to your wife and stuff, like doing the scary things, to me, is better than wondering what if and staying in the safety net. Because
exactly.
I'm sure you know people who like stay in a job for 40 something years, and it's like, okay, yeah, you got that consistent check, but also, you know, there was something else in you that was way more lucrative than, you know, staying in this, you know, box of safety.
For sure.
So
for sure,
it is scary though.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely scary. But fast forward 5 years, it turned into the scariest decision to by far the best decision we've ever made.
For sure.
When it comes to the growth and development of the kids, having, you know, my wife as a former teacher at home all the time with the kids, you know, just taking care of the house, you know, while I'm working, that has been phenomenal. Yeah. It has been phenomenal.
So for the men who are out there like struggling, what's one little nugget of advice to encourage them?
I would say beyond, you know, paying your tithes and being a giver and knowing that God will always provide for you, the second piece of, I guess, earthly advice, if you will, would be don't try to impress. Live within what you can afford. If it's, you know, not going out as much, then don't go out as much. If it's, you know, scaling down on the kind of car you drive, scale down on what car you drive. If it's, you know, we're going to take a trip instead of Disney, we're going to take a road trip to Chicago. Do what you have to do in order to be able to live comfortably. For sure. That's my biggest piece of advice, for sure. Have you experienced moments where the pressure to provide conflicted with pursuing personal passions or dreams? If so, how did you reconcile these conflicts?
I haven't run into that yet, but I'm thinking about it now. So, like, understanding that in time, Nadia and I will have children. I'm already thinking of, like, okay, like, how can I continue to show up and be a great husband? How can I be a great father? And then also, like I said, how can I have something for me to do that, you know, that keeps me, you know, whether it's creatively DJing, hooping, whatever, like, how can I navigate that to create balance so that I don't feel, you know, depleted? Because, like, there's times where I've heard where fathers, you know, show up and they're present and they're active in church, but they, like, work so hard that they never really tap into, like, what they like, you know? So it's because I've seen that example, I also, you know, want to just keep that in the back of my mind as I progress as a husband and as a father. It's like, okay, like, how can I balance all three of these things so that way, you know, everything is growing equally, if that makes sense.
No, that's good. I love that, because when you said doing things that you still like, I feel like that's very important.
For sure.
And even though, you know, I'm working and then I'm rushing home to the kids, me and my wife, we still make time for both of us to do what we like to do. Now, 10 years of marriage, it's kind of morphed into we both like to do the same stuff, you know, mostly. But even beyond that, individually, we had a full episode on hobbies. I am fully capable, and she allows me to be fully immersed into my hobbies, and I do the same for her.
For sure.
You know, because that's so important.
You be golfing. Tiger, Kirkwood.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I do. That's what I do. And she can do her thing.
How do you communicate with your spouse about the challenges related to being a provider?
To be honest, my wife could not tell me what's going on with the finances.
That means you've been doing your job.
Yeah, for sure. And she never has to worry. I mean, that's how I want it. And I know that's how she wants it, even though in her mind she would want to be more involved for my sake. For my sake, though, not because she really wants to be involved. It's like, well, I want to, you know, help out. I want to do something. But if it's completely up to her, she would not really have her hands in it because she doesn't need to. So when it comes to communicating with her, my wife is fully capable of paying the bills, you know,
budgeting,
all of
running a
that.
household.
The
Absolutely.
thing is, she does not have to do that.
Listen.
And she doesn't really want to do that.
Yeah.
She could.
Yeah.
She's very capable of doing that.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to, and I don't think that she needs to. Well, she doesn't need to, because I take care of pretty much everything when it comes to finances in our family.
Yeah,
so our communication is not, hey, I paid this bill. Hey, I paid this mortgage. Hey, I paid your car note.
Yeah.
She knows that's taken care of. I don't have to like communicate that, hey, I paid your car note or I paid my car note.
Follow-up question. If you have stress that comes from just the nature of providing, do you express it to her, or do you just kind of, because you've been doing it for so long, do you just kind of take it on the chin and
so we talk about our finances, but when I say she doesn't really, she's not involved with like the act of going to the website to pay the car note. She doesn't. She's not really involved with that. But when it comes to things that we're trying to do and budget and hey, we're trying to go on this trip, this is what we need to do, and you know, this is, you know, all of the planning. That's more of where our communication comes in.
Gotcha.
You know, like how much money is in the bank, she may not even know that. But does she really need to? I don't believe, this is my own opinion, and you can disagree. My thing is, I don't believe that she needs to be involved with feeling pressure when it comes to finances. I am already doing that. Why have us both pressured for finances?
So you kind of just deal with it.
I kind of
figure it out.
But this is the thing: when it comes to anything at home, the shopping, the cooking, the dishes, any and everything,
getting out and being down the street.
Any and everything, she's taking care of that.
Yeah.
I don't really want to cook. I don't really want to go grocery shopping.
That's the understanding in y'all marriage. That's y'all dynamic. So that
that's
works.
our dynamic. It's like, why would we both try to feel the pressure of providing? I would rather take that on and kind of, she doesn't have to really worry about it because she knows it's getting done. Now, if there is pressure or something that comes up, or something out of the ordinary, then yes. So our communication may look a little different because she has her things, I have my things. We communicate about them, but we don't take on the pressure, the brunt of it. You know, unless we need that extra support. I want to make sure that we add that. If we need the extra support, it's there.
Teamwork dynamics look different in every marriage.
Exactly. How do you maintain self-care with your responsibilities as a provider?
So as a provider, I still communicate to my wife, who is a proponent of self-care, that I need self-care. So, you know, through communication, that with the workload and with what I balance as a provider now, I still need that time. And that could be anything from like watching basketball to, you know, watching my podcast, PlayStation, whatever. Like, I communicate so that way, you know, she knows with my normal workload, okay, in a day's time or in a weekend, he needs this allotted time to, you know, just have to himself. And sometimes we'd be sitting in the same room and chopping it up or not chopping it up, and, you know, she understands. But I have to communicate that. And I also have to communicate, you know, how I feel in my role as the provider and, you know, different pressures I might feel with different things or whatever. But I always make sure to mention, like, oh, can I have a little bit of time? We call it tie time in my house. Like, I need some tie time, you know?
I like that.
And she's like, all right, how much? Like, an hour, 2 hours, and then we also balance that with us time, you know. So I can't have 16 straight hours of tie time because then I ain't seen her from Friday to Sunday. I mean, that don't fly, you know. It's not gonna work.
Right.
But I just communicate that I need, you know, some type of time to myself, and that's where I use that time to do self-care amidst handling different provisionary tasks. How do you prevent the pressure of providing from affecting your mental health or relationships?
That's a good question. I think the main thing is to try to keep it in perspective. You know, this has the ability to affect your attitude, the way you act, the way you move, which then can affect how you interact with other people. So really keeping it in perspective, you know. Yes, it can be tough, it can be difficult, it can be, tasking at some point, but it is what it is. Yeah. So you just try to compartmentalize that as much as you can.
That is a thing.
These are the bills.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we took care of the bills.
Yeah.
Now, the next aspect of life has nothing to do with that in that moment. Yeah. So don't try to combine the two. Don't try to, intertwine the two if you don't have to. Yeah. Secondly, have an actual plan. Yeah. Don't let, something big is coming up, something unexpected. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's tackle that. Let's get the plan. And then that is how you take care of it. Yeah. Don't let it, just sit there now. You're doing things and everything is going back to what are you going to do about this thing? Yeah. And it's just kind of like the elephant in the room. Yeah. Attack it. Yeah. Take care of it. Yeah. Even if it's a plan, payment plan, or, it's you're going to push it off until this date, or, whatever the plan is, that's up to whoever is involved. Yeah. But don't just let it build. Don't just let it fester, because then that's when it's going to really affect everything else. For sure. Planning definitely produces peace. Like, for sure. That is a word in and of itself.
Write it down in your journal. Planning produces peace. For real, though. It really alleviates, because if you leave it there and don't, plan or even have a conversation about it, it's still going to be there.
Your energy should be, how are we going to recoup this, as opposed to, why is this happening? Yeah. It's a house. You own a house.
And you can have a moment.
Stuff's going to happen.
You can have a moment where it's like, why is this happening? But don't stay there. So that's you true. Can have have a little moment where you freak out a little bit. 30 seconds. Okay. Breathe. Right. And then what you going to do? Because it's no point in staying there. Right. Because then if you don't handle it or talk about it, then now you thinking about it at work, or thinking you can't sleep or whatever. So
yes, you can trip, but let's get it moving. Yeah. That's the kind of person I am.
That's a fact. You can't stay there. I had to learn that too. I am a very emotional person. So sometimes if I feel like I put the work in and something goes left, I'll be like, now Lord, what's going on? And I had to learn to be like, okay, like, what can I learn from this moment? Right. It is a bunch of just mess, but what can I learn, so that way I don't have to go through it again? And just speaking of what you just said, so that if something like this happens again, I don't, the time of freaking out shortens, if you learn how to handle it. So whereas if you don't handle it, the time of freaking out lengthens, and you end up wasting more time. Exactly. In the long run. And
this is not too off subject, but in my marriage, I'm the type of person like, okay, this happened, how we gonna fix it, and what we do moving forward. Essence is more, let's kind of not stay here and dwell in it, but let's discuss it more. Like, I'm feeling this way because of this, and I want to kind of explore how I'm feeling, and why it happened, and she's more, let's talk more about it. I'm more, let's finish it and let's move on. Not even just bills, but really anything. In a marriage, we had to learn how to kind of help each other out, because too much of what I do is not good, and too much of what she does is not good. How do you maintain a healthy work-life balance while fulfilling your role as a provider?
How do I maintain a healthy work-life balance? Again, communication. I think that's the biggest thing, like letting my wife know, how I feel as a provider. And we had a discussion today actually where I was able to articulate, like, oh, I feel this pressures of like being in the establishment that I'm in, like being one of the only black men, and how I have to, in the training, how I'm taking it serious, because I'm thinking ahead of like when we have a family. Like, it's a lot of pressure, and it's terrifying, honestly, so I can articulate to her, this is how I feel. And then this is what I juggle on a day-to-day, because with my previous job, I was able to like text her like, hey, hubby, check in, what you doing? This job, it's trainings and modules, and it's a lot going on, so I don't have that freedom. So to her, it might feel like, oh, he don't really like me no more. He's not really checking in on me, like, and that might make her feel a type of way. But when it comes to just balancing that and just letting her know where I'm at mentally, and feeling safe enough to be vulnerable and say like, yo, I'm kind of nervous about this, or this is like a new role and a new world that I'm working in, where I'm learning stuff from scratch. So like, I feel a little inadequate, but I know that I can do all things. So I'm gonna show up every day, but I also feel like, dang, I don't really know. I'm learning stuff. So, communication is, to me, the biggest thing that helps me like balance everything between work and life, and anything else that encompasses being a provider. So how do you handle feelings of like inadequacy or like self-doubt, being in the role of provider? Like, has there ever been a moment where you just felt like, dang, like you did all you could and maybe it wasn't the result that you envisioned, and you, for a split second you just feel down on yourself? How do you bounce back?
I think there are always times of planning. You find out, okay, maybe you planned incorrectly, and then go back to the drawing board and get something or plan something that's more in your reach. I don't think that there's any inadequacy feelings. It's just, okay, well, I didn't really plan that out correctly. I wanted this amount saved, in a year. I didn't get there. Is that self-doubt? Is that inadequate? No, it's just, okay, well, let's readjust and make sure, and make sure that I get my goals to be a little bit more attainable for where I am in that moment.
I shot for the moon, and you're like,
no problem.
Saturn.
Right,
Saturn,
exactly.
For sure.
And that happened, when we bought our first house, like 8 years ago. It was like, man, do we have enough? Like,
houses be costing.
Because we tried to get it after 1 year. And we're like, okay, we're going to be married for 1 year, and then we're going to buy our house. And it was like, the year came. First of all, the year felt like 2 seconds.
Wow, you blink.
And it's like, wait, that was a year? And it's like, man, we didn't get to where we wanted to be. But this next year, okay, let's recalibrate, let's rethink this. And by the end of the second year of marriage, we'll make sure that we're in a position to buy our house. For sure. And that's what we did. Absolutely. We just, changed the goals up, changed what we wanted to do, changed what we needed to do. And we did it that second year. So I don't ever feel like it's any self-doubt, because we're very confident people. We know what we're capable of.
And I think for men out there, even if there is a feeling of feeling inadequate or less than, all right, feel that feeling and recalibrate. Like, embrace whatever that emotion is. Cool, embrace it. Feel your feelings. Also recalibrate. I don't want to, overlook or overstep. Like, sometimes, like, dang, I thought I was going, because it's exciting to shoot for the moon.
Right.
And to miss, it's like, there's emotion attached to that. All right, I feel that. Now, there's other planets in the solar system. Some discovered, some undiscovered. So it's our responsibility to, like, get up and just, So for you, that's a quick thing. For other people, it might not be.
Right.
But either way, it's okay as long as you don't spend so much time in focusing on the miss, if that makes sense.
For sure. And it comes up a lot when, like, even in parenting, you don't get it right every time. There are so many times where I said something or did something. I'm like, man.
And later you think about it like,
was that the right thing to do? Was that a good thing? Should I have done that or said that? And the way me and Essence parent is, if I'm the one doing the disciplining in that moment, she don't come in and try to, undermine me or overstep me. She lets me do it, and then we can talk about, like, hey, how was that? And then when she does it, I don't say anything. I let her do her thing, and then she's like, how was that? And I would say, that was good. I probably would have done the same thing, because we don't want them to see us,
on two
do that, and then no, do that, and then you don't want the kids to see that. So I say that to say, the next time, or let's say we do something that we don't like, the next time we have more confidence in ourselves, because 100%. It's like, okay, I know what not to do, or 100%. I know how to do it this time to really make it effective when it comes to parenting. Even with marriage, we don't get it right all the time.
Still
we
learning.
Want to. Even in 10 years, we're still learning each other. That never ends. That never ends. Having tough conversations. People think we got it all, figured out in 10 years. Man,
Still learning.
Stop. We don't have it all figured out. And we know that. And we're not afraid to admit that. We're always learning each other. So when it get back to the question, when it says self-doubt, it's like, initially you may have some self-doubt because you're kind of setting the bar. But when the bar is set, it's like, okay, now I don't have to have self-doubt because I know what I can do. I don't have to try to get up here when I know that I'm supposed to be right here. Or I don't have to reach way down here and just to eliminate self-doubt. It's like, no, you can shoot for what you know you can shoot for. Like, and I think that is something that you should retain as you go forward.
For sure.
You know, and that'll alleviate some of the self-doubt.
Absolutely.
Because it's gonna come initially, and it may even creep up even later.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of, how do I eliminate this self-doubt in the future?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to live with self-doubt.
By continuing to, and I feel like the same way that you can shoot for the moon and miss and go for Saturn, some days you might shoot for Saturn and hit the moon and be like, huh.
Yep.
And that brings self-confidence. So it works both ways.
For sure.
But the underlying principle is to just get up and keep continuing. Because in those reps, you're going to miss some and then recalibrate. And then sometimes you're going to shoot short and hit something you didn't know you could hit. And now you're living in a new level of, confidence, and it eliminates any self-doubt. So. Exactly.
And then not to,
keep going.
Beat a dead horse, but to alleviate the feeling of inadequacy. I think you can really do that by not comparing yourself to others.
Sure.
Or your kids to others, or your spouse to others. Yeah. It's like, if you look on Instagram and see, X, Y, and Z, it's like, okay, I don't have that yet. Am I inadequate? They younger than me, and I don't got that.
Easy to do that.
We used to do. Well, I can't speak for my wife, but I used to, like, when we were trying to have kids and we didn't yet. It's like, man, we're trying to have kids.
Actively trying. Some people are not trying.
And I see on TV a 16-year-old girl,
it's a whole show. Teen Mom. They be just pregnant. Everybody pregnant. Huh?
I'm like, dog.
How did y'all?
What? Like, that makes no sense to me. But you can't compare. Your time is your time. Their time is their time. For sure. You can't really argue with that. You just got to be prepared when your time comes. So it's like, you don't feel the inadequacy.
Inadequacy.
Inadequacy?
Ooh, that sounds sexual. Hold on.
Wow, right. I'm like, can I say that? Inadequacy. Okay. You don't feel that inadequacy.
Steve, rock too.
You don't feel that inadequacy.
There you go. Sorry.
You don't feel that inadequacy because who are you comparing to?
Yeah,
nobody and nothing.
Yourself,
This is what we're doing as the Kirkwood family. Yeah. And it really don't matter what anybody else is doing.
I think the instance you can see something, like I can see you and see like, okay, Vance is a husband, a father. He is providing for his family. For me, it's a Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant type of thing, to where it's like, okay, he's excelling at what he does. So now I'm paying attention the same way Kobe will watch Michael's footwork and finishing, like, okay, this is how he is as a father. This is how he is, okay, as a businessman. All right, cool. In the world of finance, okay, cool. Now, to me, that's a healthy way to approach it. Right. There is no comparison. Right. Because I'm Tyler, you're Vance. Right. The minute that becomes comparison is when the individual has to step outside of themselves and be like, all right, don't compare yourself in that way, because you will then, that's when inadequacy sets in, and that's when you start to self-doubt, you know? So I think, in scrolling through Instagram, if you can, in a healthy way, see something, be like, dang, Deval and Kadeen, or all these, these parents who live their lives online, and you see their big families. If you can see that and be inspired, that's a good thing, But if the second that it turns into comparison, and that fuels feeling inadequate, and that fuels like self-doubt, that's where you got to do the work. And if you get off Instagram then and just pick yourself up and keep shooting for different planets, in your own lane. But if you can do both, then do both and be inspired. But if you can't, as a man, look inside yourself and be like, all right, you know what? I'm comparing a lot. Let me just stay focused. Or I'm inspired by that. As a man, I'm comfortable who I am, where I'm at, what planets I have attained, and, continue to grow and prosper and provide for your family. The overarching thing is if you start to compare and feel inadequate, focus on.
You don't know people's situations.
You just don't know.
You really don't know.
Stay in your lane and
that's it.
Provide, live in your means, provide for your family or your wife, or if you're not married, not in a relationship, learn about it, read about it. Like, what does it mean? What do you want it to mean? Write it down as a single man and what you hope to do when you have a wife and kids. There's plenty to do in the time, but as a single man, as a married man, and as a a father, you know. So
Right.
there's always work to be done.
Yeah, for sure. How do you navigate moments of uncertainty regarding the future and the impact it may have on your ability to provide?
I've said this all episode, but talking about it. I mean, Nadia and I have conversations about the future, and most times it's like the big dreams, but then it's also the uncertainty of figuring out the how. And usually when that happens in our communication, so if she says it, I'm the one who's like, nah, we could do it though. Like, we're gonna find a way to do it, and just instantly, like, we don't really leave room for it. But having that open dialogue has created a rapport between us to where if any uncertainty creeps in, I acknowledge it. All right, I can see how you feel that way. And also, what can we do now? Because sitting in uncertainty sitting and worrying about uncertainty really does nothing. And sometimes it can just kind of kill the mood of dreaming big dreams, you know? Because it's like, if you start to wonder about how something happens or if something happens, then like that gets in the way of having faith for stuff. Like for me, it's like, and I'm human, I have moments where it's like I'm super confident we are going to have a house that has gates and the S is going to be on it and a fountain. Like, I believe all these things that I see, I've seen it in my head. And there's also times where, man, our finances be like, yeah, nigga, what? And I feel uncertain because what I saw 2 days ago was glamorous and it was like abundant. But what I'm experiencing now is, dang, making me uncertain. So I had that communication with my wife. She said, no, you remember our vision board? You remember our confession? You remember this? I'm like, oh, yeah, the fountain, the gates, you know? So it's like the communication helps with any uncertainty. And, of course, when you are, you know, walking by faith and not by sight, of course the enemy is going to try to deter you with stuff in the present, you know? So it's up to us as a unit to be like, nah, we got it. I don't know how yet, but we're going to keep shooting for these planets until we get to where we're going, you know? So communication.
Yeah, that's good.
How do you handle setbacks or unexpected circumstances that impact the ability to provide for your family?
I feel like you can't foresee unexpected circumstances, but you can be prepared for them.
Ooh.
So
say more things. Because I get it, but it confused me a little bit. But my brain, I liked it. It was great.
How do you prepare for something that's unexpected? It's not always money. It's not always, something physical. Yeah. But sometimes it's just it's the mindset behind it. Yeah. For example, I remember a time when we first got married. Mm-hmm. Remember, she was still in college when we got married. Okay. And I had a job, but it wasn't like anything crazy at all. Yeah. And there was a time where we literally had $0. $0. No, we had $6. I kid you not. This is a true story.
I've taken screenshots of my accounts when I've had 73 cents. Just to when I get to billion, I'm like, Lord, you've done it.
We had $6 in our account, and we're leaving Thursday night Bible study with $6. And this is the thing: we both get paid on Friday. Mm-hmm.
Boy, that right before that check hit.
But this is the thing.
Brokest.
This was like early marriage, early. And we literally got it hot and ready on the way home. And we spent $5.30 and had 70 cents to our name at one point.
100%.
How, intimidating is that, bro? How devastating that could be.
Provider, head of the household, 70 cents.
And when we got married and we had all this wedding money, we were rolling.
Boy.
But it's like now we're in a position where we don't have literally anything in that moment. Yeah. We know that won't last. Yeah. But the mindset is we know that we are still going to be okay. We know that God is our provider. For sure. So that's our mindset going in. Yeah. And it's like sometimes you don't have the physical things to really be prepared. Now, you can be, and we talked about that, but sometimes you can't see how to be prepared. Yeah. You don't know how to be prepared in this earthly realm. Yeah. So you really got to rely on God to really provide for you. Yeah. So when it's to that point, you really got to put your faith in God.
For sure.
Or else or else you're gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
You're gonna go
crazy. You ever been like sitting and be like, I don't. This happened to me and I did recently. Like, whew, I'm not sure, but it's gonna work out.
Yeah.
Like we both just are in agreement. Like we both work every single day.
Right.
Hard. We're not just at home. Like I'm playing 2K in my drawers and she, on Instagram. Like no, we both work daily.
Right.
And still, it's been at times where like, dang, okay, pay these bills. Man, we a little short for whatever reason because of an unexpected curveball or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
And
for sure.
In those moments, I think as a married couple, what strengthens us is be like, all right, listen, I don't know. And we're also prepared to be like, okay, if I got to do Uber Eats or if I got to do something, do I want to? Absolutely not. When I come home from work, I'm trying to sit down.
Right.
And just chill out. For real. Let's watch something. Let's watch Squid Game. What we watch? Squid Game? Yeah, Squid Game. Let's do something. Let's watch something. And also, in my head, I'm recalibrating. I feel inadequate. I feel this unexpected thing made me feel low. Okay, self-doubt. Okay, instead of staying there, I was like, all right, I might have to do this. And I think being willing to do it right when I was about to, then God makes a way. Yeah. There's been checks that's come out of nowhere. There's been all type of things. So it's like having that mindset of not staying down in the dumps and then seeing God show up now fuels me for if it happens again. Yeah. I'm not claiming it to happen again. I don't ever want to be in that situation again. But in the event that it does, let me go back in my remembrance, as the church folks would say, and remember like, oh yeah, I remember it was 70 cents. And we had a hot and ready and show did make it. Now we got Kirkwood Estate. So,
I mean, seriously, I'm glad you said that because, like I said earlier, it's almost the mindset over the physical thing. Yeah. Yeah. Because this is the thing. If you had to do Uber Eats or whatever, trust me, you would be out there with no problem providing for your family. For sure. And that's a respectable, honorable way to provide. Yeah. There's no shame in that. Yeah. So there, in your case, there was a natural way to help. Yeah. But then the supernatural comes out of nowhere. And
glory.
Blesses you. So God. That's what I'm saying. Like, there will always be a way out. For sure. God, I believe that God always provides a way out, whether it's something earthly or something that he wants to do supernaturally because he's God and he can do that. Yeah. That's how I feel with me and my family. Yeah. We will always be taken care of. Yeah. I know that. For sure. And I have no doubt about that. For sure. Sometimes there are setbacks though. Yeah. And you got to really kind of evaluate your situation and say, what can I do physically now, right here, to help my situation? Yeah. And there will be a way to do that, but when it comes to the spiritual aspect of it, you just got to really trust God. Because sometimes his provision is, this is your opportunity to do this. Sometimes his provision is, this is someone else that's going to bless you. Yeah. Sometimes his provision is, hey, you don't even know how this showed up, but know that it was me. Man. Here you go. Yeah.
And I think we have the responsibility as men, whether you're single, dating, married, have kids, whatever, to work on that muscle or that mentality of like, all right, if there's a curveball, this is how I'm going to respond. Like I think the earlier you start to work on that, when the curveballs come, they don't hit you as hard. Right. But if you just oblivious to curveballs and like everything's perfect all the time, okay, that's not realistic. Like we have faith, but also stuff happens, So like we're not claiming it. We're not, we don't want bad stuff to happen. But sometimes something happens and it throws off. You might have been saving and whatever, and now it's thrown off and it's a little tight, 70 cents is tight, But when you're single, when you're dating, when you are married and have kids, like working on that muscle early will allow you to not be so defeated or so affected by curveballs when they happen, or something unexpected.
All right, last question.
Yeah, it's been a good time.
How do you define and maintain boundaries between work responsibilities and family life to prevent burnout?
Whew. Learning how to do that now. I recently switched from one job to another to where I had more free time at the previous job, and now the job that I do now is I'm learning. It's a whole new world that I've had to learn, and it's a very serious what I do. So it's like, but I still am I'm an advocate for like leaving work at work. I don't bring work home.
Okay.
So like whatever I do to the best of my abilities in the hours that I'm supposed to be working.
Right. So
much so that I'm not going to bring anything home, and if I do bring something home, I will be compensated for it. Like that is something that's the standard that I hold myself to, because when I come home, I'm now a husband, and in time I will be a father. So I don't want work to get in the way of making sure my wife is feeling loved and her cup is full, and making sure my kids, like, I'm running around and being fun and silly with them, like, to create those memories, because I don't want the memories of me to be such a hard worker and that's it. Such a hard worker or such a hard worker and a provider. Yep. That's it. Yep. I want it to be, oh, my husband came home and he really made me feel loved, or my dad came home and we put drawers on our head and we were Spider-Man. Like, those type of memories live forever, far past what you got them. They're not going to remember what you got them 3 Christmases ago, for sure. But they will remember you putting drawers on your head and being Spider-Man.
We've never done that. Maybe we should try that.
100%.
All right.
Listen, I promise you, do this and put some drawers on your
love
head.
Spider-Man.
Oh, man. And climb on something. Just be an adult and climb on something you're not supposed to. Guaranteed, when he's 21, he'll be like, Dad, remember we had drawers on our head and you climbed up the banister? I love you for that, So, like, it's one of those things. So, we hope you enjoyed this episode. There's a lot of good stuff. We hope you took something away from it. As a man, there are a lot of pressures to provide, whether you are single, dating, married, have kids. There's a pressure that we as men carry, and it just comes with the territory. But it's something that we can manage. It is something that we can excel in.
We thank you for listening to this episode. We're closing out the season soon.
Yeah, we got one more episode. Next episode.
Hold on. Is it one more or 2 more?
It's one more, but it's a 2-parter, and it's about sex. Listen, if you don't watch any other episode, you got to watch this one, because...
And we might have some special guests.
They've been barking in the background all season. Before time, all this stuff. Listen,
might have some special guests. People that we talk about all the time.
And people we have sex with.
So
but hey, next time, man.
We love y'all.
Love y'all, man.
Remember, Amen Podcast, AMP@gmail.com. Vance, Tyler, we out.
Yeah.
Peace.